Saturday, October 31st, 2 p.m. Frank and I checked with a dozen different concession operators in the neighborhood of Stephen Arnold's place. They all corroborated the fact that on the night his wife had met her death in a downtown hotel, Arnold had been working at his stand until 1 a.m. Despite all the previous indications that he might have been responsible for the murder of his wife, we had to eliminate him as a possible suspect. 2:20 p.m. On the way back into town, we stopped by the apartment hotel where Doris Frazier was living at the time of her murder. After checking further with tenants and with the help in the building, we found out that the victim had been in the habit of eating most of her meals at restaurants in the immediate neighborhood. After some 2 hours and 6 restaurants later, we found a small coffee shop 4 blocks from the apartment building where one of the waitresses identified Doris Frazier's picture.
Yeah, that's her, officer. Terrible picture, though. She looks so much older.
About how often would you say Miss Frazier came in here, ma'am?
Oh, 3 or 4 times a week, I'd say. The bus stop is right out there in the corner. She'd usually have breakfast and then grab the bus and go to work. Some nights coming home from work, she'd stop here for dinner. Nice girl. Quiet.
Did you get to know her at all, miss? I mean, do you happen to know any of her friends in the neighborhood?
No, as I say, she was a quiet person, not very talkative. Usually read while she was eating, a magazine or a book.
Did she ever come in here with anyone else, would you know?
Oh, yes, quite a few times. She seemed to have the boyfriends. Of course, she was attractive. Small, you know, but real cute looking.
Mm-hmm. Do you happen to know any of these men?
No, I'm sorry, I don't.
Any one of them in particular that she came in with very often?
Let's see. I think there was one. Dark, well-dressed, kind of tall, good-looking. They usually came in together for breakfast.
How long ago was this, miss? Would you recall?
Oh, I'd say up till a couple of weeks ago. I usually waited on them in the morning. That's how I happen to remember.
I see. Did you ever happen to hear this man's name?
Let me see. George. I think that was it, yeah.
Would you happen to know if he lives in the neighborhood?
No, I'm sorry, I don't.
Has this man been in here during the past week, do you know?
Yes, he has. He came in for breakfast.
What day was that?
This morning.
Before we left the coffee shop, we questioned the cashier who came up with the information that the man known as George usually left his car parked at the service station across the street. We left our card and asked the cashier to call us in case the suspect returned. At the service station, they also remembered the man known as George, but they told us that he hadn't been in for the past 2 weeks. They'd done some work on his car for him in the past, so they had a record of his license number. We called our DMV and found that the car was registered to a Carl Lucy in East Hollywood. 4:30 p.m. We drove out and interviewed Lucy at his home, but he came nowhere near the description of the suspect. He told us that he had purchased the car 6 weeks before from a man known as George Crane. He described Crane as tall, dark, and well-dressed. From the bill of sale, we got Crane's address, a motel on East Manchester. The manager there told us that George Crane had moved a week before. He said that Crane had left no forwarding address, but he did remember where he worked. He gave us the name of the aircraft company in the San Fernando Valley. We called their personnel office, but they were closed for the day.
Description checks out all the way.
You called the night office of the aircraft company, did you?
Yeah, they couldn't tell us anything. Gave us the home number of the personnel manager.
Well, he's got a record. I got the package on him here.
Yeah.
Nothing very heavy. Drunk charge 2 years ago, another one last year. Disorderly conduct, resisting arrest. That's about all. I'll get it. Homicide, Friday. Who? How's that? Oh, yeah. Yes, sir. No, I'm afraid not. Well, we sure. Certainly. Yes, we are. Yes, sir. Thanks anyway. Right. Goodbye. Well, that does it.
Who was it?
You know that guy was in here the other day, that Al P. Morgan?
Yeah, what did he want?
He wanted to buy us a drink. He's celebrating.
Huh?
His old friend Maud. He just found her. Sunday, November 1st, 8 a.m. We got in touch with the manager of the personnel department of the aircraft company at his home. He said that he'd check the files for us. 8:42 a.m. He called back to tell us that George Crane was employed as a maintenance man in the electrical department, that he'd been working for the company for the past 5 years, and that he had a good employment record. He told us he was on the day shift, and that he was scheduled to report for work in the generator room at 8 o'clock that morning. Frank and I got in the car and drove out to the valley where we located the murder suspect, George Crane, at work in the generator room of the aircraft factory.
Do you know a Doris Frazier?
Doris Fraser? No, I'm sorry, officers. I don't know anybody by that name.
How about Doris Arnold? You know that name?
Arnold? No, I'm afraid not. What's it all about?
You own a car?
Yeah, it's a dark sedan.
Had it very long?
A couple of weeks. Last one I had was giving me a lot of trouble.
Did you trade it in?
No, I sold it to a private party. A fellow out in Hollywood.
How about this picture? Know her?
Well, it doesn't look like anybody I know. Am I supposed to?
You should, yeah.
I don't follow you.
You spent any time around the East Wilshire District, Crane?
East Wilshire? No, I've probably been over there a couple of times. Not lately, though.
How about the coffee shop on the corner of Gramercy and Marengo? Ever been in there?
Not that I remember, no.
Well, a waitress in that coffee shop, and the cashier, too, say they got a pretty regular customer, and he fits your description exactly. You sure you never been in there?
I'm not positive. I wouldn't swear I'd never been in the place. What's the difference, anyway?
How about the service station across the street from the coffee shop? You ever park your car there? They ever do any work on it for you?
Oh, say, I better know the place you're talking about. Yeah, I've been by there a few times, sure. It's a good station. Done a lot of good jobs on my car for me. Yeah, I remember it now.
Then I guess you remember the coffee shop. Crane?
Yeah, I think I do now. Right across the street from the station?
Yeah, that's right.
Well, what do you want to know about it?
When's the last time you were in there, Crane?
Well, to tell the truth, I couldn't be sure.
We talked to a waitress in there yesterday. Said you were in that morning for breakfast. Do you remember that?
She's way off her track on that one, I can tell you that. I wasn't near the place yesterday morning.
The cashier remembers you, too. She says you were in. Now, how about it, Crane?
Look, what difference does it make? What's this thing all about anyway?
You want to take another look at that picture?
I told you once, I don't know the woman. I never saw her before in my life.
Why don't you give it some thought?
Huh?
You remembered East Wilshire, you remembered the service station, you finally remembered the coffee shop. Maybe you can remember her, too, huh?
I don't know. I never saw her in my life.
The waitress in the place says you were in there quite a few times with the woman. Usually came in for breakfast. And you stopped going there about 2 weeks ago.
I don't know her.
What's the matter, Crane? You figure you got something to hide?
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know her. What do you figure she's got to do with me anyway?
We checked her apartment, mister. We found a letter she was writing to you. You ready to tell us?
Well, what's a letter? That doesn't mean anything. Can't prove anything by a letter. What are you thinking anyway?
We think you're lying, Crane. We think you got a reason for it. Now, what do you say?
Doesn't prove anything. Maybe I knew her. It doesn't mean anything at all.
We think it does.
Yeah?
We think you killed her.
The way it looks to you?
That's the way it looks.
I don't think you can prove it.
We're going to try. Now, how about it?
Will it go any easier for me if I admit it?
That's not up to us.
I don't know why I did it. What am I going to give for a reason?
I wouldn't know, Crane.
I don't know why I killed her. Sounds funny, doesn't it? No reason at all. I just killed her. What am I going to tell him? If I don't have a reason, how can I ask him to let me off easy? How can I ask him?
I don't know, but they'll have an answer.
February 8th, trial was held in Department 89, Superior Court of the State of California, in and for the County of Los Angeles. In a moment, the results of that trial. The suspect was tried and convicted of murder in the first degree.